We have Mr. David Risher coming on right now. Welcome, Mr. Risher. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Hi, Chris. Hey,
David, how are you? First of all, thank you so much for doing this. You didn't have to, and I know it's the first time a major corporate CEO is doing a live stream on YouTube. So, look, we so appreciate for you to being here, but
Sure.
As you said, you have about 30 minutes for us, and I want to get right into it, right? So I've been on the Lyft platform for about 6.5 years with a few thousand trips. And in 2015, when I first started in LA, minimum fare trip was at $2.62, which I happily did because there were crazy incentives going on. Fast forward 2023, minimum fare in LA $2.62. Now, I'm thinking drivers are the only people who are immune to inflation, and I'm pretty sure inflation has helped Lyft quite often. I mean, it's probably a tailwind for you guys more than anything else. What do you think we should be talking about this? I mean, $2.62, I can even buy a pack of gum with that.
Yeah, well, so I'll say a couple of things. First of all, thank you for driving for so long. I really appreciate it. And so do our riders. It makes all the difference. As you know, the only way we can be successful as a company is when we've got great drivers out there telling the story, getting people place to place, doing it reliably and so forth. So thank you for that. I actually spent a lot of energy. I've been on the job for about 4.5 months now. And one of the first things I said is in every one of our cars, there are two customers. There's a rider and there's a driver, and they both matter the same. Full stop. So just in the same way that we have lowered prices for our riders over the last couple of months, and that's done all sorts of good things for our ride volumes and so forth, we've also increased the amount we pay. Some of that is just in a secular way, just trying to increase it. Some of it upfront pay gets to that too. I'm sure we'll talk about that more. Yeah. And we're not done. I mean, I won't comment on the specifics of the 262. I didn't know that was the exact number, when you started, anyway. So, and obviously market by market, it varies. But all I want to say is, we know drivers need to make good money in order to drive for Lyft. And we're super committed to that. And I hope I'll be able to show you some evidence of that both today, later in the conversation, as well as over the next months and years.
Hopefully. And let's just get into upfront fares, right? I believe upfront fares has been, as I said, I've been on the platform for 6.5 years. I've been through rate cuts when time and distance there was a rate card actually.
Right.
But I understand why the rate card, was reduced. Again, that part I get. But when upfront fares showed up and we did our surveys on RSG, unequivocally, over 80% of the people said they're making less money with upfront fares than they were making with a rate card. Now, there are specific reasons for that, but I personally believe upfront fares has been basically a rate cut in exchange to see the destination of the passenger. I love seeing the destination of the passenger. As an independent contractor, I mean, we should be seeing the destination of the passenger, right? So upfront fares, I believe, is a rate cut. Now, the other thing is, when John Zimmer was on with Harry a few months ago before you took over, he said, there's a rebalancing act that long trips are going to pay a little bit less and short trips are going to pay a little bit more. Well, that math is not working, David. What it's doing is that on longer trips, we've proven this. We're getting about a 30 to 40% haircut with probably a dead mile return. And how many short trips I have to do to make up for that loss. So if you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so a couple of things. The first thing is I actually want to dispel a rumor here. Upfront fares was not a way for us to reduce pay. It really wasn't. And I say that just with all sincerity. It wasn't. What it really was a way for us to respond to drivers' interest, as you've just said, to be able to see how much they're going to make before they accept a ride. And to your point, it's actually very important. I mean, we've had, I'm sure, 1,000 conversations, not with me, but with John and Logan and other folks in the past. We think of our drivers as independent contractors. Literally every single time you get a fare request or ride request, you have the option to say yes, to say no. And so it's in our best interest and your best interest. Our interests are 100% aligned for you to be able to have the information you need to be able to make a smart decision, right? And you know much better than we do whether or not it's a good idea. So that's really the goal. Now, when it comes to how much we can pay, and then you talk about long rides and short rides. It's true. That's something we're constantly playing with. And at least the data I have, and again, it will vary market by market and person by person, but the data I have suggests that since we've started upfront fares, both long and short rides on average have gone up from between 5 and 15%. But I'm not disagreeing with your individual lived experience. I know it's different point to point, but it's definitely not a strategy to reduce it. It really isn't. Let me say one other thing. You just mentioned the idea of deadheading, the problem of a long ride and then not being able to get a fare back. That's something we are actively working on, trying to figure out either how to compensate or how to hook you up with a ride so that you can sort of do it in both ways. In fact, a ride I had a couple weeks ago, I'm in San Francisco. I had a scheduled ride at 6 o'clock, and I talked to and it was down to Palo Alto, it was about 45 minutes south of here. And I said, were you okay with picking up this ride? And he said, oh, absolutely, I chose it. And the reason I chose it is because I linked it to what I knew was going to be a 7 o'clock return fare back into the city to 45 minutes, and out and back. And that's pretty predictable. People come in the city around 7 o'clock at night because they're leaving work there and they live in the city. So
well,
anyway.
I mean, we can talk about, the scheduled trips for a second as well. Look, we do nothing but analyze what you guys do, obviously, and we do put our segments. And one of the major concerns was that there's a lot of bait and switch going on when it comes to scheduled trips. I like scheduled trips, just like that driver in San Francisco, for the fact that I'm 30 miles outside LAX and I want to go to LAX, I'll pick a scheduled trip. But what's happened, this is just for your department. You may not know these details, but when I do pick a scheduled trip off of the day before, let's say, to start my day, the next day, let's say if it's showing $30, the next day when the ping comes in, it's like at 26. I'm not sure why that differential is. You can pick that up with the specific departments, but I have thousands of screenshots when it comes to scheduled trips that what we're seeing is not what we're getting when the actual trip is coming in. Couple other things about upfront fares, and then we'll move on to the next subject.
Let me actually speak to that one real fast. So that I don't know about that situation, but what I can tell you is for scheduled, it's actually an area that's getting a lot of focus internally to try to make it more reliable for riders and drivers. And that's one, maybe next time I come on, I'll get a chance to talk a little more about that.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm in touch with Eric anyway. Now I feel like I'm inside now. So I have a really good communication line open with Eric.
Great.
And I will forward him the screenshots. So a couple other things with upfront fares. And to me, now I can explain to you why I think upfront fares are actually a cut. I am in this business, in the rideshare business, as a small business owner. And so is Lyft. Lyft is trying to make money. I'm trying to make money, meaning be profitable, not just cash flow to pay my short-term bills and then have nothing to show for it after, a month, right? And then restart the wheel again. My concern is that with upfront fares, when the estimate comes in and when a trip goes longer, and I've read this a million times and we talked about this on the show, is that there is a very vague explanation of I knew exactly what I was going to make by the distance and duration of the trip, period. There was no ifs and buts. And if the trip went longer or the address was changed, I knew I was going to get paid extra. Now there's an explanation, and again, you can forward this to any department you like, is that it says if a trip goes significantly longer. I am not sure what that means. To me, significantly longer is 1 minute and 1/10 of a mile. I don't want to drive for free at all, because under time and distance, I never drove for free, right? But now what happens is that upfront fare comes in, I take it, the trip goes an extra 5 minutes. I'm in LA, so LA traffic would be horrible. You could drive 45 minutes for a 3-mile ride, right? And then trip goes 5, 8, 10 minutes longer, an extra mile, and then there is no change in upfront fares. And we will discuss that on the Lyft support part of it, that then I bang my head into the walls trying to get my couple of bucks extra out of it. We have a suggestion for you, actually, for your department. This is, here is your estimate. Estimate comes in 2 miles, 10 minutes, right? If the trip goes 3 miles and 15 minutes, just revert back to the rate card, which in LA was 80 cents a mile and 12 cents a minute, and pay us a little bit more extra because we did extra work. It's our gas, it's our car. I think we should get compensated. I did 200 trips last month for you. And I calculated this. I drove for free, literally for 4 hours because the trips went longer and my fare was not adjusted. And I don't know what significant means. Maybe you do. What does that mean?
I understand. So I actually want to talk about two things that I think you're touching on, Sergio. The first is what happens when unexpected things happen, right? As you say, your trip goes long. And then the second, which I think gets to a lot of the issues that you're bringing up, and I really appreciate the way you're doing it, is around transparency, right? Showing us exactly what it is that we're getting paid and why. Let me take them separately. On the first, I actually have some news here, which is, it won't speak exactly what you're talking about, but I think you'll see directionally it's similar. Just today, actually, in fact, just about 15 minutes ago, I got an announcement that we've gone fully live with a pay per second for what would you call them? Passenger requested wait time. So again, I know this is a little different from things like extra traffic and stuff. I get it's not the same, but this is another thing that we've been hearing from drivers quite a lot. Is a rider will say, "Hey, can you wait for me here for 2 minutes while I go to the store?"
Exactly.
2 minutes while I go to the store. And as of today, and I literally just got this, it's rolling out. So, give us a little bit of grace to make sure that it's gotten to everybody. You will start getting paid by the second for every second you wait. And that's something that is new. A rider obviously will get notified of that as well. You can ask your driver to wait. You can add a stop in, but you're going to be charged for that. And the money goes to the driver. So that's the point I'm making here is simply that we're very aware that if you're driving, you need to be paid. Full stop.
Yeah. I mean, as you know how expensive gas is these days in LA, right? I'm not sure if you're going to institute another fuel surcharge coming up, because I just paid $6.30 for gas. And to us, doing $2.62, $3 trips for 3 miles, it's not profitable. And I'm just not going to drive. And you're going to lose drivers. But another thing that I want to hit about this is, and then I'll move on to the next subject.
If you don't mind, I want to talk about the transparency side as well, and a little bit where we're going with that, because I think that too will speak to some of the issues that you've brought up, and I suspect you'll continue to bring up. One of the other pieces, so one basic principle that you've already brought up is pay us for what we're driving, for sure, right? And that makes sense, right? And so we're going to continue to work on that. The second is show us how much we're making. Now, I know before I get into this already, I know because I read your Twitter posts and I listen to your podcast.
Guilty as charged.
Oh yeah, no, you're a prolific writer, a talker. So anyway, so something I know is your perspective, of course, is look, my car is getting some wear and tear on it. That's depreciation charge. I pay some insurance. I pay for gas, as you bring up. So I understand that, and believe me, we're going to spend some more time talking another time about how we give some more visibility into our understanding of your true cost. But at least, I want to show you a new earnings summary that we're working on. It's still in draft form. You literally are the first people we're ever showing this to. And if you don't mind, we'll pull it up on the screen now. Again, this will change by the time it goes public sometime later this year, early next year. But what I hope this does, as you sort of walk from top to bottom, is it gives you a sense of some of the information we're planning on sharing in a very regular way on a weekly basis. Of course, how much time you spent driving, because to your point, that's important. Perhaps also we should put the mileage up here. That's actually interesting feedback that I'm kind of already getting from this conversation. But then you see literally from top to bottom how much passengers paid in, how much we had to pay to people like third-party insurance and so forth and so on, because there are all sorts of regulatory fees and insurance fees we have to pay, and then what your net earnings are as a driver. Now, again, fully understanding that this is your effectively it's net to you, net from our perspective, it's gross from your perspective. Then you have to net out other costs, but at least this gives you a sense of the direction we're trying to take things, where we're saying we want to be much more transparent, very, very straightforward in how we show how much riders pay, which of course is something that you guys care about, the drivers care about, as well as how much you're making.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is great. Actually, a few driver friends of mine have this already in LA. Unfortunately, I don't. I have to wait for the PDF.
Okay.
And with my accounting degree, I have to figure out what the Lyft's take rate is. It's like, I go like, I wish I had this, but I don't have it. So
well, and I'll tell you, even your friends in LA don't quite have. They have an earlier version of it that, in my mind, honestly, and we spent some energy on this at the company, is a little bit confusing. I think this is even more straightforward than what we've put out so far. So by the time you get it, Sergio, it's going to be letter perfect. You won't need a special.
Awesome. No, I mean, look, with Mr. David, sorry, it's like I have his permission to call him David, so you guys know. You know what? To us, transparency is something that's been lacking for a decade. So whatever transparency you guys can offer in any area, I think it's great.
All right. Thanks for watching. That short little clip was from our live stream, Show Me the Money Club with Sergio and myself, Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Make sure you subscribe, turn on all notifications so you'll be notified when we go live, as well as all of our awesome content. Make sure to check out this video right here, which will take you to the entire live stream, or check out this video right there. All right, drive smart, everyone.